So today's episode of Mindset, we have got Rob from the Granite City Classic bodybuilding show that's been in a bit of the spotlight lately. What do you do when a federation comes in and starts to change up what you've built over years? Do you make the call to stay, or do you change up and say, hey, look, we're not going to make a stand for this. We're going to make a stand for this, and we're going to do it our own way, and we're quite happy to go independent. So we're going to find out what the story was, what Rob did along the way, and also what was the wacky ways that he got into bodybuilding, why he started the show, and why he does it a bit differently. And more importantly, what is the principles that he's aligned with, that he's not going to give up on, and why he's doing this show independently and not falling into the trap of just going with another federation. So without further ado, just dive right in. So we're going to chat about your post. I'm looking forward to having you down, right? Because I was told, Ollie was like, you've got a great story, and we're going to dig into that story when you're down here in the studio. We're going to do it because I think it'd be really cool. Yeah. But you put a post up on Instagram, and I don't know how these people know that me and you have had a conversation about coming on the podcast, or if they intuitively have went, you need to get Rob on a podcast. But I got inundated with messages saying, you need to speak to Rob about this now. And I was like, I checked the post, I was like, yes, I would have to agree with you. Upon reviewing said post, it is now immediate that we need to do this. So before we get into what that post was about, what is it? How did this come about? So just give us the kind of short version of what you did, what you're doing. Okay. So you've got a show, you put it on, why did you put it on?
So the Granite is what it is. Last year was the most successful year we had yet. We sold over 600 tickets, over 100 athletes registered.
So for people that don't know, the Granite City show is a bodybuilding show.
Yeah. And since when I started the show,
Granite City Classic.
Yeah, the Granite City Classic.
Granite City Classic. So it's a bodybuilding show. It's based in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
And what was the need for it? Was there not a show up there?
No. And the level of athlete we have coming out of Aberdeen, the north of Scotland, was huge. So like Andy Scott, Erin Taylor. There was really just the PCA Scottish was, the heavy hitter. And then there was nothing substantial. Jimmy had a show in Lochgelly that was pretty good. Probably I'd say a similar type of vibe back in the day to my own. Like he put his life and soul into it. So Jimmy's show was great. And that was really it. And I was attending bodybuilding shows in Scotland, and it was just school hall, fold out tables, someone's stereo system, and I'm like, this just can't be a thing. My friend had a show in Inverness called the Highlands and Islands. He owned Forest Gym, he put it on, and I helped him out behind the scenes. And I had, as you do, because I'm a bodybuilding fanboy, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Obviously competed a bunch of times, but like I'm no genetic marvel. So I basically said, I made a bunch of suggestions, and he had this. It was almost like he felt a responsibility to put a show on because he owned a gym in the local town. So he was like, this many weeks out, I'm going to do a Facebook post, an event, and I'm going to host it, and that's it. Whereas I was like, sponsors, professional tanning, professional photography, lighting, music. And I ran it behind the scenes for a couple of years, and then he stopped putting it on. And then there's maybe a 2-year gap in between that and me going, I think I should just do this myself.
So this was in Forres?
Sorry, Inverness.
Inverness.
Where I'm from. Sunny Inverness.
But I've been to that place. Is it called Forres? Because it looks a tiny place on the back side of the loch.
Yeah. Lovely place.
There's a wee post office that looks over the loch. You can get ice cream from it. It's fucking painted green.
Is it? Pass. I drive through it on my way to Inverness, you see.
Big steep hill.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I know where it is. Yeah.
Have you cycled up it?
Cycled right round it a good few times. we go through that bit because it's got a really steep hill. It's the back third of the course, so we go and cycle it in the day before, and it's always beautiful. And it's just the roads are quiet. You want to get off the main roads because, like, for as much as I like cycling, I'm also a fucking road user, so I know what it's like being stuck behind the cyclist, which no matter how good they are, is a pain in the fucking tits. So we always at any opportunity can get off the road, or
absolutely. Yeah.
It's either get off the road or be highly aggressive to any motorist that fucking wants to take a piss.
I
no in
really
between.
appreciate you getting off the road for me. That's great. Thank you.
That's what I mean. Is it's like you just say, look, like we're fucking doing our best here. You're using a fucking motor, you fat cunt. Right, and I'm out here being the motor, and you want to beat your horn at me. You're a fucking mess. Right, every party's a mess. Right, and so if you want to get out your fucking 2-ton cage and come and talk to me like you fucking think you can do in there, when you drive off. Let's see how big you are.
A lot of pent up aggression there, Gio.
Yeah, it's the energy gels, Rob. It's fucking energy gels. They get you going, man. You're like, yeah. So we digress. So you put on this show because you say, look, this could be upper level. There's talent here. It could be nurtured. We could put a better show on. So you put on this show. And
so I went to put it on, then COVID happened, the big C, and then so I sold it out, got cancelled, and the Sturgeonator said I'm opening gyms again, so rebooked the show, sold out again, got shut down. Then the third time, I know, mate.
The Sturgeonator, I've never heard of that.
What a time, man! What a time.
Have you seen the picture of her university clip? You know how you get like the university yearbook. Have you seen the picture of her? And she looks just like a younger version. She looks like fucking Rod Stewart.
Yeah, absolutely. What's
and the label
Crankies
underneath
or something?
The label under it was that she was nicknamed Seaweed because not even the tide would take her out. That was her nickname back in uni.
She seemed quite angry, that wee woman in her short back and sides. COVID happened, and I got the green light to put the show on at a different venue.
Yeah.
The venue then said, we can't with good conscience put this show on. I don't think it's fair to our staff or your athletes. So 2 weeks before it was meant to happen, they said no. So I then, again, like financially, dumped a lot in again and booked a venue that previously I was like, I can't afford this venue, so I'm paying for everything myself. And at the time, I linked up with the IBFA, who at the time was a chap called Martin, who's like a time-served veteran of the bodybuilding community. So good guy. He helped with the Inverness show. His federation was associated with the Inverness show. So I was like, he's going to give me creative freedom. So I spoke to Martin, complete creative freedom, do what you need to do, put in your show, and then, athletes go to the British. Cool, no worries. So the first year, sorry, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, for people that don't know the setup, you're putting on a show. The question would naturally be asked is, what would the involvement of a federation be, or what's the need for a federation to be involved?
Now, generally, my understanding of how it's supposed to work is the federation would support the show. So things like trophy costs. This is the thing. So I've never had. This sounds bitter, but I've never had any support from a federation. It's always just been me off my own back. So my understanding is that other federations would maybe supply, staff, compares, trophies, prizes, tickets to championships, and they host a British championship. Generally, they support the show, but in 5 years I haven't received a single piece of support.
Well, I've got the guy I train with, Dell. He is a former pro bodybuilder in the IFBB. So back in the 90s. So I got the truth about what federations really are. Because I was asking him about, I asked him, I was like, what's the lowdown? I was like, I get the public bit of what they should be. What's actually going on? So I was doing a bit of research before we came on to discuss, because I said to him, I was like, I says, I need to be out the gym by this time. I says, because I'm going to podcast with Rob. He said about a situation. He says, what's happened? I says, well, we'll get into it. And I said, what's the role of the federation? And I was like, oh, well. Well, the murky politics of what publicly is said and what privately is delivered are very, very different.
Yeah, I think so.
For other than the help and the support, like, what is it that you like? Why would a private show like yourselves want to be associated with a federation? Is it to gain legitimacy? Is it to gain notoriety? Is it to spread the kind of what would be the kudos of the show, maybe?
So I think when you're like looking at it when I was starting out, I was like, okay, if you're a legitimate show, you have a federation associated with you. You already had a relationship with Martin. And I also wanted people from Aberdeen and the surrounding areas to have an option to go to a British. So cost comes into a lot. So you wake up in your own bed, you roll out of bed, you get tanned, you're at the show, an hour later, you don't have travel costs, you don't have
Yeah.
flights, you don't have expensive overheads. So for, 50 quid, you can, and by 50 quid, I mean like that's your tan, that's your pants, rock up, do your show, and you can get a British invite, and it's then your call whether you travel or not. Because at the time, if you weren't doing the PCA Scottish and you wanted to compete at a decent show, you were traveling to England, which I don't think is right, especially with the caliber of athletes that. I'm not just talking about, the big names. I mean, like there are people that were like at the point of me putting on the show were kind of flying under the radar, and I'm like, that guy could win any show, like in the north of England, but nobody
Yeah.
knows he exists.
Yeah.
Um, so
Because
there's
you've
no
not got a
platform for
platform.
them
Yeah,
as
there's
well.
no
That's
platform.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
do you,
yeah,
but what was the initially when you got on board with Martin and the federation? How did it go?
well, basically I said, look, I'm going to put on a show. This is my thinking for it and what I'd like to do with it. Um, and I would like to be associated with IBFA, and they'd get an option to come to the British. And I think initially Martin at this point was in his late 60s, I think, and he'd said, "Look, I would come up and compare, but I'm getting on a bit. Aberdeen's a long way away." And I was like, "Don't worry about it. Complete creative freedom. Do what you need to do. Okay." And then the top three from every class will get an invite to the Brits. Great, cool, no worries. Awesome. So then, first year, put the show on, and I think we had between 40 and 50 athletes, I think, the first year. Second year, and again, so we make a tiny chunk of money from the show. Um, and then all I did was I used that little, because it's a completely self-sufficient thing, away from anything else I do. So I was like, right, how can I maximize this? So I think at that point I started the clothing as well.
Mm.
And then the profits from the clothing go into the show. So I started adding things like guest posers, projectors, pyrotechnics, um, paying for high level judges, paying for the ballroom to be open longer, more staff, and then the clothing thing. Again, paying for more clothing, more athletes wear the stuff, the brand grows. And just making it every year. I would just like turn the dial another
Hmm.
notch. So I think we went like maybe 50 up to 60, 70, 70, 80, 90, 100, and then last year we hit over 100 athletes. So all good.
So at this point, so you're not getting a lot of support other than the kudos of being affiliated with a federation. There's not actually any real support in terms of they're helping with costs, they're providing staff, they're essentially providing some sort of lift
No,
to raise it
no,
off the ground
no.
in real
So I
terms.
kind of I like things like the social media platform. Like my social media, I would argue that is substantially better than what the IBFA have, and they've been around for 30 years. Um, and I've just built it. Like I've just built it over time. Every single day I'm on that page, resharing, tagging, doing posts, replying to stuff. So I've built that platform social media wise as well. Um, Gee, it sounds, man. So I've been a bodybuilder who's went to shows and been treated poorly. So that's not something that's ever going to happen at one of my shows. And it leads to it. So what I do in security work is like I treat my guys better than I'm going to go ahead and say most companies that I know of treat their guys. I pay them better. They have better uniforms. They work in nicer venues. So they then look after the client. The client's
Hmm.
happier. So I look after the athletes. Like I genuinely look after everything I can do and make the day as stress-free, as simple, as calm, and as enjoyable as I can. Like everything they need is within a few meters for them. Um, Tours of the venue beforehand. Here's your link to book your ticket. Like I make everything so simple and efficient, so their stress levels are really low. And then when it comes to the crowd, like not everyone in that crowd is a bodybuilder. like, they're there to watch their friend who's in a bodybuilding show, their son, their partner. So I also play to the crowd. A bit like, I don't know, like if your nan's there, she's not going to understand why half the room's screaming for this person, half the room's screaming for that person. So the first year I didn't have a microphone. The second year I was like, okay, this is something I need to be involved in.
What do you mean microphone isn't like an MC, like sort of giving a bit
Yeah,
of
yeah,
commentary?
I didn't have a microphone. I was just hiding away in the background, and there was points where things needed to be said that could bring the atmosphere up.
Yeah.
People that from
So you
doing
must have a natural flair as being a bit of a showman, because that takes feel. You need to be able to play an audience, understand the environment you're playing, the emotions, why people are there. Like that's showmanship.
if that's what you want to call it, man, fire away. But I don't know if I have showmanship, but I know things
Like
like
every part of me thinks that doesn't fit the bill. I look at you and I think there's not a showman in here at all.
absolutely,
I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
like a fucking saber slaying warlord from the 1410s looking to
Thank
steal
you.
cattle. Like I don't think he's going to
It's a
play to a
plan.
crowd here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a fucking Trojan horse of showman here. But, yeah.
Trojan.
But
But
you're,
things like
you're
so I
describing
know.
you're describing the hallmarks of a good showman, which is like, when do you put it in? You're
Mhm,
feeling the audience. You're thinking about why they're there. You're thinking about the
mhm,
athletes, and you're playing the flow so that you can
yeah.
get that flow to work, and you're
Mhm.
wanting to amplify that up. So that's
And
showmanship 101.
I don't always get it right. I don't always get it right. That's the thing. Sometimes it'll, but like every year, I think if I was to look back at the last few years' video footage, like I'm definitely getting better at it.
Yeah.
It's things like I know two women are coming into the same class against each other,
Right.
and I know they train at different gyms, and I know they hate each other. So
Yes.
I'm going to be like, oh, who have you got here, guys? Let's put them through one more round of posing, shall we? And they get angry, the crowd
Yeah.
goes nuts, and the atmosphere goes up and up and up. So
So you say that you quite enjoy, getting people's emotions amplified. Then I think that's a great way of doing it. Personally, I mean, I'm a
yeah,
big
yeah,
fan of
yeah,
that
yeah,
personally.
yeah. I definitely enjoy amplifying people's emotions.
That's good.
So the show then becomes, and I do like a wee speech at the beginning, and I give people almost like an explanation, and I'm not sure if we should do this. Maybe you could do. And I basically say, look, if you've ever been to a bodybuilding show before, this is not a normal bodybuilding show. This is more like, have you ever been to the pantomime?
Yeah.
Like, if somebody walks out and they look a bit nervous, you guys need to lift the room. You guys need to applaud them. If I need you to lift the room, like this is an interactive thing. This isn't just you guys are here to watch, just to be clear. Like this is
Yeah.
as much about you guys in the crowd as it is about me. Rather than just people sat watching. So,
No, that's good. That's engagement.
yeah,
That's what you want. You want them to feel engaged.
yeah.
Let's see, just plug this charger in. The engagement, so getting involvement, that's good. That is really good.
Also musically, so I think, and I might catch some stick for this, right? But I love AC/DC and I love ACD Thunderstruck. That's a tune. But I'll go ahead and say in the world of bodybuilding, AC/DC Thunderstruck has been beaten to death by every promoter across the UK. And I would go to any show I went to, they'd play AC/DC Thunderstruck. And there's this like minute long lead in to AC/DC Thunderstruck. And they'd go like, right, let's go, boys. They'd put AC/DC on, and it'd get to the point where the drop happens, and that'd be the end of the pose time. So it'd be all this build up to awesomeness, and it would just stop.
Yeah.
And
You can't,
I
you
was
can't
like,
have that. You need a crescendo.
it's like, what just happened? Like,
Yeah.
so musically, I cater the music to the classes. So, let me think. Masters bodybuilders come out to like Motley Crue and stuff like that. They don't come out to drum and bass. They all come out to things that are like, this is a tune. So they lift. Whereas men's physique guys, they come out to slightly spicier, more Ibiza type music. The class 1 guys will come out to Rammstein, Slipknot, things like that.
Yeah.
And that lifts them, which then lifts the crowd, and then it works synergistically. And then I'm in there in the middle giving it this.
Stirring the
And that
pot. What is the male
least
bikini division called? What is that called? The one with the board shorts?
male
and stuff like
bikini,
that?
male bikini out, male bikini out,
Yeah.
male bikini.
I've just always, I've never understood that. I was like, so you basically made a division for guys that fucking can't get big.
Have you ever seen a men's physique guy over 100 kilos? Have you ever seen one?
I've not
It's
seen a men's,
terrifying.
I've not seen a
It's
men's, I've never seen a men's physique
terrifying.
guy got 100 kilos in a bulk.
Right. So I went to the British one year, many years ago, and I was at registration, and this chap was signing into a class, and he was bigger than me, and he was over 100 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a fucking big dude. I wonder what class he's in. Men's physique total prize. It was Josh Bridgman. Heard of Josh
Don't
Bridgman?
know
Yeah.
that.
So, okay, men's physique athlete, over 100 kilos, peeled out his mind. I was like, you are the largest human I've ever seen. So this is before they brought. I think they brought weight caps into men's physique now in the IFBB. But before that, some of these guys are 120 kilos on stage with no legs.
Wow. With
Phenomenal.
no legs.
Yeah, with no legs. Well, some legs. Bit of calf, bit of quad sweep, and this gigantic upper body. But to be clear, at the beginning of this process, I actually campaigned for men's physique. So the IBFA didn't have men's physique as a category, and I said, look, they sell tickets, they know how to use social media. If I get a big men's physique class, it pays for the venue.
Yeah.
Like they're essentially a giant PR team, and the IBFA were like, well, they won't have a place at our British, just to be clear. And I was like, that's fine, cool, no worries, I'll tell them that.
But
So
that's
yeah,
the
I was
thing
told.
is like this is the thing is that whether you love it or you hate it, the reality is that if it fits a category, and those categories are going to expand. Like if you look at bodybuilding, and I don't know what you're like, Rob, but I look at bodybuilding is hardcore. Bodybuilding is big, fucking solid dudes. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you're looking for the people, the showstoppers that are just like, you know, people like, what in the fuck am I looking at? That's
Yeah, yeah.
bodybuilding. That's what you want,
Yeah.
like freakiness, like size, peeled. But you've got this whole kind of like gap now where it's been bridged by the classic and the physique, and it's sort of that's how it's helped develop this into the mainstream and much more in the way that it would be before, because it went from this subculture of hardcore freakiness to now there's like a fade from there to what people would go, oh yeah, it's a nice body, I would like to look like that.
Well, I think people are always going to turn up to see the freaks. That's a given. So that's why the Olympia sells out, because the class one. Like look at the big boys at the Olympia, for instance.
Yeah.
Like everyone's turning up generally to see them, but all the other classes are more easy access. So if you look at bodybuilding as a business, like these classes definitely need to exist.
Yeah.
So I do it with, see when people are whinging about gyms being busy, and I am guilty of it. People are whinging about gyms being busy. So I'm lucky enough to train at Warehouse, which is a great gym. But then you come in on a Monday night, it's really busy. And some of the more hardcore guys are like, there's like a curly-haired broccoli guy on that, and then there's some old wifey on that, and I need that. And I'm like, see the big, horrible growlers like us, man. We didn't pay for this kit. See those 200 people that don't train here except maybe once a week. They paid for this, so they need their place.
As
much as I would like to have a dungeon myself.
I don't know if you found it, but I find like even when you're in gyms and you go and speak to people, and you're like, hey, look, is there any chance I can jump on this bit of equipment? Like the fact that you're coming over and being nice to them, like they're surprised by it. They're surprised by you would normally think like a big fucking bruising, intimidating dude's just going to be like, growling at them. But the fact that they're like, well, no, you seem like really quite, polite, and they're much more receptive to it.
Oh, absolutely.
There is some fucking like fruitcakes who are usually from the, like, I don't know what bit of the alphabet I fit in this week, the LGBTQV, HDTV, fucking BBC fucking, crew where they're like, I am angry at everything. Like, well, cool, you want to go for the fucking leg extension then?
Yeah, recreational outrage. I'm just going to be angry at everything.
Can you go and be fucking angry somewhere else? I mean, like, I'm not asking you to be less angry. I'm just like, any chance I can use this piece of equipment? Like, it wasn't my fucking fault your dad didn't get you that puppy. I mean, I'm not, like, I don't know what you want me to fucking do. Like, he didn't get you the puppy because you were a cunt, and like, what do you want from me?
And now And now I'm not going to let you on this leg extension. I'm so
Yeah.
angry about life. I'm very aware of what I look like. I look horrible at most people. So I walk up, big smile. Hiya, how are you? You all right? How many sets do you have left? So I'm very open and very smiley and very happy.
Do you do it in that
And
fucking camp way though? Like they probably think they're going to get pumped if you fucking approach them like, hiya,
well, the method
hello.
works. That's all I'm saying. They're
Yeah.
usually very efficient at finishing off. And
So the idea is look scary as fuck and sound like you're a Butlin's redcoat and you're going to get on a machine.
that is exactly it. That is my technique.
Nailed it.
If you can let the rest of the heavy D guys know to deploy that
I think you
tactic.
should just fucking copyright that right now. Like
Yeah,
Rob's fucking technique to get on any piece of equipment, look hard and look like you're fucking slightly curious about your sexuality.
there you go. Boom. Like,
You're gonna
nobody's
get
waiting on that. Nobody's waiting on that adductor machine. Like, hello, how are you? Off they pop. Yeah. So I'm very open and smiley, and people generally leave the equipment alone. So it's good. Works fine.
That's good. So everything's going well. Tell me, why did you pick this federation? Because there's obviously a few federations that you could have went to.
Creative freedom, creative freedom. So I've been approached by a
What
couple
does
of other
that mean?
federations. So they pick the music, they pick the branding, they have their own compare. So I would just be, I wouldn't have a whole lot of say.
So
So
for people that
they're
don't know what a compare is, can you explain that to them?
so just somebody that calls everyone out, not in a bad way, calls their names out, what gym you train at, where you're from, and will host a show.
Yeah.
So I had ideas of making it almost a cross between a bodybuilding show and WrestleMania, bringing
Nice.
those two things together. And not a lot of federations align with that idea. A lot of them are moving away from hardcore bodybuilding. They have strange and interesting categories. Various federations. Then there's so the PCA. They're a gigantic brand, and to be honest, I enjoy their shows. But they have this massive brand. So if they were wanting to be something to do with the show, it would just become a PCA show. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, owning a burger joint and McDonald's rolling into
Yeah.
town
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
saying, we want
Yeah.
your burger joint. So they would take complete creative freedom. And I'm not quite ready to give that up because I really enjoy it. Because I really enjoy it. And I think it makes it different. It makes it different from other shows. Like what we do is very different from what other shows do.
So it's your
So that was the
fucking baby.
reason.
It's your baby, and you're not giving it away
Yeah,
because
yeah, in the nicest possible way.
the baby's quite successful. And people like it, so you're not fucking changing it to what you want it to be.
Yeah, and I'm all for people like you might know. What was is it Remus and Romulus? The suckles from a wolf. Like I'm all good with people taking their little bit. Like I want the fitness and bodybuilding community to benefit from this, and I love it. I love that. Like I'll give new brands that pop up that I think align with what we want to do. I'll give them free stalls at the show. I'll advertise them. Like I'll do what I can to push everyone up. But there are people who are wanting to take larger and larger chunks out, but not put anything back in, and I don't think that's right.
Like people don't
That's
realise this
something.
in business. I mean, it's one of the most difficult things to get through to people, and I don't know what your experience of it is. And again, I know this is a slight tangent, but I think it's important to understand the predatory nature of what we're about to discuss. Is the psychology of people are that they look at the world through a lens that is their own. So they have their own perspective, they have their own beliefs on the way everyone operates. So they believe that everyone's going to operate with that lens. But unfortunately, not everyone has the same lens. So you have people that
Absolutely.
they will go over and above what they need to do. In fact, they give. And you get
Yeah,
other people who are at the other end will give nothing and all they want to do is take. And then you've got a scale, you've got a degree of those people in between. And most
absolutely.
people that are disgruntled or unhappy will be unhappy because they have had something happen to them by someone on that scale that doesn't match their lens. And they go, why would they do it? Why do they not do it with the way that I am on this scale? Because they are
Yeah,
somewhere else on the scale. And the
that's people.
difficulty is,
That
yeah,
yeah,
they just have
that's
difficulty
people.
going but where it is best illustrated is in business. When something
I've been
can be
able to.
taken and there's an advantage to it, people will take it.
So once you suss out who those types of people are, and you just categorize them. Like you can definitely just stay over here. I know why you're in about this, and you are here for the right reasons, and our values align. And those are the companies and people you'll see me pushing aggressively, because we move in the same direction. Like it's synergistic. I have this platform that I've built, which is cool. But they also have a platform which I benefit from. Like it all works together. So if someone's not putting anything in and want to take lots of stuff out, I'm very quick to shoot that down. And that's something I think is missing in the industry, and it infuriates me. So loyalty is a big thing for me. And the people that helped me when I started this. So when I went to them with like, hey, with that demeanor of mine, I'm gonna put on a bodybuilding show. Could you help? Would you like to come along? Would you travel with all your wares and have a stall at our show? These people that were like, yeah, I'd love to come and help. I'd love to come and support. Like those people are still at the show now, and I do everything I can for them. And other companies and stuff approach me, and I'm like, no, sorry, like. And to be honest, more recently, as the show's grown, people have got more and more upset by that. They're like, oh, why can't I be at the show, but they're at the show? And I was like, well, that would be unfair on them because they've been supporting me for 5 years. You haven't bought a T-shirt. You haven't even seen the show. I don't remember you. Do you even follow the Instagram page? Like, you start to dig into it. You're like, you want all of this, but you have contributed nothing, and you don't plan on contributing, and you're just here to take. And those people I tend to upset by telling them to jog on.
Yeah, and you basically say to them, look, these people have helped build this pie, and this pie that you want to take a slice of, this pie was made up by the people that you want to take it from, and you wonder why they're getting this slice of the pie and you're not, and you think that
that's a good analogy. It's a great analogy. I love pie.
So, fuck them. It's like you don't deserve it. I mean, if you're not here, you're not getting a bit of the pie. That's it.
Bingo.
But see, in a slight, we're going to go into what happened with the Federation, but we need to clear something up.
Okay.
Right, because one of the guys that is doing well in bodybuilding now has got a really, really fucking skewed perspective, and I wanted to know your thoughts on it. In fact, I would go as far to say that he doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about. And that's been polite. Mm-hmm. So he is of the opinion that 90s bodybuilders weren't the best that we've ever seen. And he believes that modern day bodybuilders are even better than the 90s bodybuilders. And his basis for this is that he is currently bodybuilding. And I am like, you have not got a fucking clue what you're talking about. Like, how can you be so involved in this sport and come out with such a pile of shit like this?
What the fuck?
Like,
who is this person? Who is this person?
He shall fucking remain nameless, but I'll tell you, like, he fucking knows who he is. Right? And he knows who he is, and the shame on this guy, the shame that he brings to the game. There's a whole pool of debauchery. I mean, you need to go low to hit a low bar here, and he's went there. he's fucking went there. And the really funny thing is see when you say to him, listen mate, you're full of shit, and he's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how, like, can you explain to me how, like, just, when you're in school and it's like you've came up with an answer and it is ridiculous, just show me how you got to it. So, show me your working, please. Nothing. So, yeah, I'll fill you in on who the culprit is offline, but for the suspense, we'll hang it out there. But where are you at with the 90s bodybuilders?
Well, right, I'm going to go ahead and say I feel like Samson Dauda is a bit of a dark horse. And he's someone I'd like to see in that mix of 90s guys. Mm-hmm. But I'm a Kevin Lervoni, 99 Coleman, 98 Coleman even. Kevin Lervoni. It's hard to look. Chris Cormier. Like some of those guys were incredible. Right. Incredible.
Look at fucking Paul Dillette. Right, have you ever seen a freak like that in your life?
Yeah.
A black guy with calves. I was like, holy mother of fuck, what is that? Because you see this huge, like, you see black guys, they are so fucking enormous, and they can get so big, and they've got such great tie-ins, and then it's like, right, what happened to this genetic bit? This bit seems to have been left out. There is 2 marbles where there should be calves, and this
You've also,
fucking guy shows up with these huge calves for anyone, but being a big,
yeah,
huge black dude, it was fucking impressive.
I just don't see it. And you've also got like the other end of the scale. Like, you've got a Lee Priest, like who beat Ronnie Coleman, who's just the best arms in bodybuilding I think ever to ever be
Far and
seen.
away.
Um,
And look at
and a
how
lovely,
grainy.
lovely
Don't
look.
look at the condition. If you were saying Samson, what's Samson lacking? He's definitely got all the size all day long, but he can't if he could get even a fraction of what Dorian Yates showed up with that grainy, dry,
Oh,
hard
absolutely, yeah.
condition.
But then, so I would see it as there's these parameters. You know, there's muscle, and I think Samson Dowda's muscle, shape, balance, condition, obviously being a lower one, I think he would do really well in that lineup. I'd love to see him versus peak Ronnie Coleman. I still believe Ronnie Coleman would win that showdown 10 times out of 10.
Oh yeah.
But I would love to see it. I would love to see it because of the difference to how the physiques looked. And if we're honest, the difference about the level of diuretic use, the different gear usage and stuff. I think it'd be really exciting to see that happen. Got a time machine in your pocket.
I mean, I think it's like that thing. I agree with it because I mean, it says, look, these guys back then were using probably predominantly pharmaceutical, performance enhancing drugs. They were more hardcore in their mentality. They probably weren't as big as the guys could get today. But the guys to get today of like that size, like sort of 2000s onwards, they sacrificed the quality of the grainy detail to get big, like big as fuck. So you're seeing that swelling out, but it's losing some of the quality. I always think it looks like, if you look at Dorian, it's like looking at ultra high definition where you can see the blood circulating around this fucker's veins. Right?
It's inside out.
And somebody's literally like, they're getting bigger, but they're not at that fucking level. Because I mean, you can get guys and get cut.
Losing detail. Losing detail. But then you see guys like, I don't know, Sean Clarida, who's a bit smaller in stature, who has bundles and bundles of detail. Bundles and bundles of muscle. But it's just obviously a wee bit wee. I think it'd be a great comparison. So it'd be interesting to see how, like Dorian did in this day and age with the access to more advanced bits and bobs.
Yeah.
Like a Dorian Yates with the pharmaceutical levels you have today would be very interesting, I think.
But I mean, I think the mentality was different then. I mean, it certainly it doesn't seem to be as much a chemical warfare. It was all about, like, even, I mean, Lee Priest talks about it, and he was like, we never spoke about like drug usage. It was always training, what we were doing, food. And he's like, I tell you stories, like, did you hear some of Lee Priest's stories? Like some of the stuff that he talks about, and he's like, why would I lie? Like,
why would I lie?
I'm telling you,
told some of the worst stories ever known to man. I'm not going to lie about that.
Some of the stories, and you're like, oh man. And he's like, what? But yet people will go like, oh, he's lying about his dosages. And he's like, why would I lie? And you see what he does. I mean, it's even the fact that he's, whatever he is, 51 now. And I mean, he even has a sniff of TRT, and he just starts going back to like fucking He-Man. And you go,
I picked him up from the train station a couple of months back to take him to a warehouse. And there was a woman broken down in the inside lane. She didn't have her hazards on or anything. And she's just on her mobile phone. No hazards on, broken down, and basically like a small kind of dual carriageway. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck's sake. And he's like, window down. You're fucking stupid, fucking can't put your fucking head, like screaming at her. So he is exactly what you think he's going to be. Exactly what you think he's going to be. There is zero bravado with that man. He is exactly like that.
But Kevin Levrone is definitely like, if there was a bodybuilder you wanted to look like, he had the look.
Oh, absolutely, man, absolutely, yeah. And then he would just not train for 6 months.
Yeah. Like, go
play some music. I'm going to go play some Creed covers in my garage, and then he'd be like, Olympia's in 6 months, time to get juicy.
You've got the Dorian in the fucking dungeon just hitting this thing like a metronome, boom, 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 day after day, no holidays, no time off, no cinema, no desserts, no days off, nothing. like a fucking monk. And then
Yep.
there's Kevin fucking showing up like playing the guitar like
Playing
oh
the
yeah,
guitar, aye.
fucking like
Yeah.
the traditional like Chad Hogan man, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
sitting there. Oh, I bet I've got a show coming up. I bet I'm like 10 weeks out. Better start training.
Yeah. Zero fucks given. He would just explode as well, man. Just what a physique, though. What a physique. Yeah. I think there's a Kevin Ravoni highlight reel, and it was a pivotal moment for me in my bodybuilding journey because I watched Kevin Ravoni, and I'm sure he's posing to Creed, maybe My Sacrifice or something. And I must have watched that video on grainy YouTube footage like 1,000 times. 1,000 times. Like we set dumbbells in the garage. Like, yeah.
Is it the one where he's in like the '99 Grand Prix where like, the trunks look dark green? And he is the
Yeah, yeah,
fullest.
yeah.
He is the fullest. It's just like, he pulls that
That's
most
the
muscular.
Rage Against the Machine one.
Was it?
That's that Rage Against the Machine one. And the Kevin Ravoni Creed one. There's a bit where he goes to every fan, to every MC, to every reporter. This one's for you, baby. And then the tune. I'm getting goosebumps. And the tune hits. And I was like, yes, I need to go do bicep curls.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. It emotes that fucking energy, where you go, yes. And that was why people. That was why he was a people's champ. Like people loved him. People still love him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Even my son George, he's getting into bodybuilding in a big way, and like that, Kevin's like, he's like, this is a guy. He's like, just look at his energy. And I was saying to him, I was like, what is it you like about him? He's like, it's the energy. He's always positive, and he's always like, hardcore and big weights, and just sort of getting after it, but in a positive way.
Do you know about his first show? First show? So he's a power lifter, and he's at like. Probably something shite like Mr. California or something, right? And he's a powerlifter who's lean. And he's just sitting there in the crowd, and he's like, his mate's like, you could win this, and he was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, like you're leaner than that guy. So he goes over to like one of the stalls and says, can I buy a pair of trunks?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And he goes, he's like, can I register? And the guy's like, sure, yeah, signs him in. And he's like, what tune do you want? He picked, sorry, bodybuilding fan people out there. He picks a song, and he's like, yeah, just throw it on. Walks up on stage, boom, smokes everyone, wins. And then he's like, probably going to start bodybuilding. And he smoked everyone by quite a distance, apparently. So yeah, that was his first show. And he even talks about it. He's like, yeah, they were like those big diaper pants they were like velvety. Like, yeah, that was his first ever show. Like no tan, no nothing, just bang.
Just showed up,
Smoked
fucking
everyone.
wins it.
Just so much muscle.
Well, the guy in question, the guy Dell was trained with, he was on stage with the guys that were on the Grand Prix circuit for they just finished Olympia, and Dell's a massive dude. Like he's 23 stone, 6'4", big motherfucker, big guy, freaky. And he remembers seeing like Flex, and he looked like a big Flex Wheeler. That's what Dell looked like when he was competing. And he looked, and it was an anticlimax when I seen these guys. They looked tiny. He says, and then they took their top off. He's like, I could not get enough clothes on. I was like, holy fuck. He says, I was going on stage to pull the curtain back. I was not standing on there to compete. He's like, these guys were just something else. Yeah. And that's what I mean, is like they go, until you have your eyes on it, he's like, you cannot comprehend like how thin their skin is, and like how cartoonishly full that they look. And they pulled their clothes off, and you're like, what the fuck am I looking at? And you can see how even like 30 years later, still animated, like, how? And it's so, you've got so many much more points of reference when you've done what they're doing, and you can see how much more incredible they are, and you go, fucking wow. You just can't help but be in awe. You go, that's something. You're seeing something really, really cool. And he's like a fucking kid. He's like, Gio, I'm like fucking 4 stone heavier than him, and big and ripped and lean. He's like, and I'm looking at him going, he's like, I just felt like shrinking. He says, I want to put my clothes back on. He says, they were that much ahead. He says, but it was just a buzz going on stage with them, because these were the guys. So
that's a really cool thing to be able to fucking pull out the bag,
I know.
On stage with Flex Wheeler. That's insane.
And he said to him, he actually says, he's like, he remembered looking at him when he had these clothes on and just thought, fucking hell, it's like, they don't meet your heroes. And he's
Aye.
seen Flex and he's like, I actually felt myself deflate. I was like, is this it? He's like, it was this it. He says, and then he started to like get pumped up, took his clothes off, and he was, he was like, I was back to being the fucking like. He
I'll
says,
just go home.
he's like, I could feel the adrenaline starting to pump through me, and I'm like, this is going to fuck up my look. But he was just in absolute fucking awe of what he was seeing, and he was like, wow, man.
One of the greatest to ever do it, man.
And I mean, anybody that knows is like, you go, holy shit! Can you imagine being there, seeing that for yourself
Yeah.
firsthand? Peak.
For anyone that's seen peak Ron Coleman, they were all like waiting for him to take his top off, and then as soon as he took his top off, they were like,
Yeah.
it's Roddy's show again.
Just people just play for the fucking second place.
Yeah, exactly. I hope I get paid for competing at night. That would be great. Yeah.
So it was a death. So I'm assuming that your point of view will be that the 90s was peak.
Nobody's beating Ron Coleman. Nobody's beating Pete Ron Coleman. Like that's never going to be seen again. As big as like a reference Samson, as impressive as I find him, nobody's got the depth and the detail that Ronnie had, and I don't think we're ever going to see that again, because you're never going to meet anyone that works. Some would say, ludicrously hard, but also the magic that was him coming across Chad at the right time, and pharmaceuticals going like this and food going like you're never gonna make that recipe again. You've got this genetic anomaly that works harder than any other human on the planet, and you've got Chad in the background going, take this, eat this, take this, eat this, take this. That's just never going to exist, man.
Have you seen the clip? Have you seen the clip? It's funny how fucking things come out. I've got a clip on Instagram. I've liked it. Then years later, George, my son, has went, Dad, and sent me it. And I've been sent it, and I'm looking at it, and I've already liked it years ago. And it was it was Kevin Levrone on like he's on stage, like doing it must be like a Q&A with Dave Palumbo, and Kevin's doing the impression of Ronnie Coleman when it was the night before. Then like I don't know, it was the like
eat some pizza or something.
It's like he's like take some vodka, like take a shot of vodka with like fucking honey in it. He's, I don't drink alcohol, but if you say it's okay, I'm going to do it. Kevin's putting on the accent. He's like, you get a few down, you more big dog. And then he goes and cuts to the scene. He's like, I'll never beat him again. He says, that was him.
Yeah. And then I beat Kev.
But that was all the years, like the years that Ronnie put in where he won nothing. Nothing, coming in last,
I think he did like 3 or 4 Olympias. And he got dead last in most of them. And then Lee Priest beat him, he nearly retired.
And you go, fucking hell, man, fair play. That guy earned everything, and his longevity in terms of career was insane.
We did a seminar at Warehouse a few months back, and I looked after him for his stay. And he told all those stories. He did an impression of himself and did the Kev story as well. And it's so good to hear these stories from the guy. Now, because I'm a fucking bodybuilding nerd, like I knew every story he was coming out with, but hearing the man himself tell it, I'm like, I'm trying to stay serious and on point because I'm a security for the evening. And it popped into my head about halfway through the gig. I'm like, what if something does happen? I'm the one that let something happen to Ronnie. Oh no, right. And I went from being like, this is great fun, to being like, I'm going to kill someone if they make a step towards this man.
I kill someone. You can imagine somebody fucking actually going and attacking or like doing something to Ronnie Coleman. Like you want to talk about the hyenas about to lynch you. I mean, I'm not sure you would have been able to get to them for people going to fucking like lynch the mob going to lynch them. Your decision would have been, do I try and intervene with the guy that's fucking tried to attack Ronnie, or do I intervene from the mob that's going to attack the guy that tried to attack
Ronnie? You mentioned, you brought up the showmanship thing. So there was a point where we're doing the Q&A, and obviously everyone gets the, how would you fare in the Olympia this year? How do you think you would have done, Ronnie? I would have won. What do you think about reps and reserve versus, clanging and banging? I don't know about that. I just trained real hard. Like, that's all he did. And everyone rolled through like the kind of genetic questions you'd expect. And then there was a big lull. And I'm a security for the day, so I'm like, I've got so much I'd love to ask this man. And then they needed to pass the microphone. And the crowd's really low. Atmosphere's gone. And I need to pass the microphone from one side of the room to the other side of the room. And I was like, oh, I'll take it. So I got the microphone and I'm walking across the room and I was like, Ronnie, can you do us all one favour, please, buddy? Sure. He's like, can you just scream lightweight, yeah, buddy, as loud as you can in that microphone, please? And he went, lightweight, lightweight, yeah, but, and the room just exploded. People were signing autographs and I'm stood there like gripping. He's like, mate, that's the best moment of my life hearing that man shout that. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was so good, so good. Such a nice dude. Loves a Nando's. Went to Nando's with Ronnie Coleman. Go ahead and say he also likes thick Latina women. And he liked the snow that we had in Aberdeen. That's my report on Ronnie Coleman.
Thick Latina women and snow.
And a Nando's. I think he had like 3 or 4 Nando's one
Fair
day.
play to him. Good on him.
He's still a unit as well. Like,
Is it?
you see how he looks, obviously in his wheelchair and that, and you're a bit like, oh, the forearms are like this thick, massive big hands. Still has biceps, upper body and stuff. He's obviously, a bit broken now.
Yeah.
But he's still a very large human being. But yeah, that was cool. Ronnie Coleman, you're never beating peak Ronnie Coleman. Just to circle back to the original point.
Right, so we're getting to the main event here. Everything's going well. The show's going well. You wanted creative freedom. You've got it from this federation. Everything's going well. And when did it start to unravel? What happened?
Right, okay. When did it start to unravel? Now, just to be clear, my plan was just
don't fuck around. We want the truth. We don't want the PC answer of let me be diplomatic.
No, that's what I'm going to say. You're a way to get it. You're a way to get you just get a way to get the fucking blow by blow. But the thing is, I'd wanted to just part ways and move on. Like, do what you need to do, man. Crack on.
When was
I'm
this?
gonna crack
Was
on
this recently? Is there a build
This
up?
is now. This is so the seed was planted maybe 6 months ago now, and then I decided that I was keeping them for this year because I don't like rocking the boat. Like, I'll keep them for this year, and then I think I'm going to move away from them next year because I don't like the direction they're moving. They appointed a new chairman, who I just think's a bit of a rocket, to put it plainly. What can I say and can't I say legally? That's the question. So he does things like he punts gear openly on his own Facebook page. And I'm like, man, you get that money. It's none of my business, but I don't want to be associated with someone like that. He changed the IBFA social media pages from the IBFA logo to a picture of his own face. I thought that was a bad move. He asked for the promoters' opinions of the federation, and I gave it, and he basically attacked me when I came out with it. And my suggestions were, your social media is pish. Your social media is terrible. Your posters are a bit of a laughing stock. If you could just get this in order and have some degree of continuity and professionalism, it would probably help level up the show, the federation, sorry. So I basically said, look, send me what you need for your British poster, and I'll make you a poster, like completely free of charge, and I'll send you over, and let's get this thing rolling. And he was like, who are you? And I was like, I'm the biggest show the IBFA has, buddy. And he's like, I sold out my show last year, and this woman sold out her show, and I just sent him the ticket sales. I was like, 604 tickets sold. I comped about 90. I had like 10 businesses in the room. I'm not being arrogant at this point. I'm just telling the guy, you should probably listen because my show's growing like this, and your federation is doing this. And you'd literally ask for feedback. And he shot everything down. And then he said he offered to sponsor the show. Now, I have everything locked in well in advance. So if you sponsor my show, you get first refusal to sponsor it again. So I have some people that have been with me since the first year. So generally, if you want to sponsor the next year, it's yours. And I push your business for the entire 12 months. And I'll do everything I can to help you from a business-wise for 12 months. So I push it. And he wanted me to get rid of my local business sponsors and put his, I'm going to go Next Gen. It's basically like a pharmacy, a lab. He wanted me to make them the main sponsor. And I was like, that would be business suicide in my eyes, buddy. So thank you, but no thank you. Half of my judges are WMBF pros as well. I'm like, I can't be associated with something like that. Are you insane? We all know it goes on, but you can't. Like, no, thank you. Okay, I want to
So for people that
sponsor.
there's people that might be lost on this. So what you've got a guy
Yeah,
has came in. You've got a situation where you're diplomatically wanting to not rock the apple cart with people that have a certain view on certain parts of the sport, be it pharmaceutical usage, and you've got a
yeah,
prima donna that shows up who blatantly says that he's selling these things that are a very, very, very grey area in terms of ethically, legally, amongst these things. And not
yeah.
only that, you've got a huge divisiveness about people in the sport. But
Hmm.
he's now very
And I don't
vocal,
know who the and
very vocal, very public, and then he shows
yeah,
up. I mean, I'm reading his. I know this guy on the three descriptors that you've given me.
yeah,
So he's asking for feedback, which is he needs praise, he doesn't take criticism.
yeah,
He's asked for feedback, which is you then gave him
yeah,
constructive criticism, which he takes as criticism. Then he's went on a huge rampage as to who are you, ego is driven, and then he's
yeah,
then showed up with, well, I'm going to show you who I am because I sell these things that make me a lot of money, and I'm going to essentially buy the spot in your show because I want to be
yeah.
the big boy in the box. I want the face. I want my name out there. He's the Tony Stark. I need the name on the building. I need you to know that I'm Iron Man.
Yeah, yeah. And dude, he just kept making suggestions that just didn't make any sense. And then he would be backed up by a bunch of people in the promoters group. And I was like, this is strange. And I clocked, he'd basically added in his family. And his family were backing up everything he was saying. So I was like, are your family the only ones agreeing with me in here? In this chat group. Anyway, so we went back and forth. I then said, look, you can't sponsor any classes because they're all sponsored. I was like, look, this year is done. Like it's gone. Like let's talk after this year's show. Again, like let's just have an argument later on in the day, buddy. I've got more important things to do. He says, oh, I've tried to phone you multiple times. Now I teach, and he tried to phone me on Facebook Messenger once. And he said, I've tried to call you multiple times. I was like, you've tried to phone me on Facebook Messenger while I'm teaching, and I don't know who you are and why you're phoning me. So drop me a message. Here's my number, and we can talk. And he basically said, look, everyone needs to start paying a membership fee for the IBFA. Now, up until this point, this hadn't been a thing. And I was like, right, okay. I was like, well, I think at this point we were maybe 7 or 8 weeks out from the show. We're now at 3. So this is now maybe only a month ago now. Before I was just like, nah, it's the last straw. I'm done. And he started commenting all our posts and all people that were obviously competing at our show. He was commenting all their stuff, saying you need to pay an IBFA membership fee, and it's £45. And I'm like,
Is
for
this for
what?
the is this for the show, or is this for the people that are wanting to compete?
So if you want to compete at the show, you have to pay the IBFA £45.
No.
When the IBFA have never and will never contribute anything to the show or anything.
So
And if you
he's
click,
essentially, for people that don't understand that, what he's doing is when people go and compete at the show, they pay the show to enter. The federation is the kudos and recognition that you can move on.
yeah,
Constructive criticism, which he takes as criticism. Then he's went on a huge rampage as to who are you, ego is driven, and then he's
yeah,
then showed up with, well, I'm going to show you who I am because I sell these things that make me a lot of money, and I'm going to essentially buy the spot in your show because I want to
yeah.
be the big boy in the box. I want the face. I want my name out there. He's the Tony Stark. I need the name on the building. I need you to know that I'm Iron Man.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, he just kept making suggestions that just didn't make any sense. And then he would be backed up by a bunch of people in the promoters group. And I was like, this is strange. And I clocked, he'd basically added in his family. And his family were backing up everything he was saying. So I was like, are your family the only ones agreeing with me in here in this chat group? Anyway, so we went back and forth. I then said, look, you can't sponsor any classes because they're all sponsored. I was like, look, this year is done. Like it's gone. Like let's talk after this year's show. Again, like let's just have an argument later on in the day, buddy. I've got more important things to do. He says, oh, I've tried to phone you multiple times. Now I teach, and he tried to phone me on Facebook Messenger once. He said, I've tried to call you multiple times. I was like, you've tried to phone me on Facebook Messenger while I'm teaching, and I don't know who you are and why you're phoning me. So drop me a message. Here's my number, and we can talk. And And he basically said, look, everyone needs to start paying a membership fee for the IBFA. Now, up until this point, this hadn't been a thing. And I was like, right, okay. I was like, well, I think at this point we were maybe 7 or 8 weeks out from the show. We're now at 3. So this is now maybe only a month ago now. Before I was just like, nah, it's the last straw. I'm done. And he started commenting all our posts and all people that were obviously competing at our show. He was commenting all their stuff saying, you need to pay an IBFA membership fee. And it's £45. And I'm like,
is this for the show, or is this for the people that are wanting to compete?
So if you want to compete at the show, you have to pay the IBFA £45.
No.
When the IBFA have never and will never contribute anything to the show or anything.
So he's essentially, for people that don't understand that, what he's doing is when people go and compete at the show, they pay the show to enter. The federation is the kudos and recognition that you can move up and you have recognition in the industry through the federation. Yeah. What he's trying to do here is leverage saying, I am the federation. Classic overstepping the mark. If you want to see where this is done, just look at the government. They're the cunts can't do this. And what they're doing is this guy's saying, well, because I'm the federation, instead of paying the show, you need to pay me. Because remember, you are nothing without the federation. But what he misses is that the federation is nothing without the show and the competitors.
Bingo. Like, it starts with the people, man. It always does. Like, I wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for the people turning up to compete. Mm-hmm. Like, fucking insane to me. He's got it backwards. He's wanting to tax all these people, but he's never done anything. It's insane to me. So it's like, absolutely not. So I'd spoken to Pete, who's like my right hand man. I goes, look, I'm just gonna bin them, man. And I filmed a podcast. We filmed the podcast just to like announce it that we were going to part ways. And he sent me a message in the chat group, basically saying, if you want to act like you're acting, if nobody's going to sign up for free, go ahead and like go join. And he started rattling off other generic federations, and I was like, I just gave him a thumbs up, like, I don't bother, like, cool. And then he text messaged me and basically said, look, that's you done with the IBFA, yada yada. I was like, well, that's handy because I'm kind of out the door at everybody. And I'd already recorded the podcast before that, so I released the podcast like the next morning. And I was like, hey, just so you know, we're leaving the IBFA. So, again, on the podcast, kind of like I've probably been a bit more of a dick now, but what I did at the time was I basically was like, look, we're moving in different directions. Like, you want to do things I don't agree with, like, I'm going this way, catch you later, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just ready to be like, you know, you do you, man. Like, do what you need to do, but I'm not on that train. I'll catch you later. And I was just willing to leave it. Like, you fucking go do what you want to do. You're federation, man. Like, I don't care.
What's the feedback from like the other people? Like, there must be other shows that are in the same kind of boat as you. Has there been a split decision? Or they just sort of was it just you that was asked to pay the membership fee and the guys that compete at your show, or is this across the board? And if
I think it's across the board, yeah. And if you click on if you click on the link to register and pay £45, it just goes direct to his bank account.
Right.
So he'd be taxed. So I've got all these people, the big dance, and he wanted to tax them £45. So let's say $4,500 he was wanting just dumped in his personal bank account for doing nothing, which just blows my mind. It blows my mind. I'm not sure what's happening with other shows, other federations. My show was the first one in the IBFA calendar, so my one's the one he tried to tax first. It's also the biggest. So I tried to tax that one first.
How many shows do they have?
I'm going to say between 20 and 30, I guess.
Have you heard from any of the other promoters of the shows and gave them the heads up of what to expect?
No, nothing. I've been very transparent and public about it, to be honest. The ones that I talk to, like, know exactly what's happened. Mm-hmm. But they didn't have another Scottish show, but they announced, and again, this is another thing we butted heads on. He announced he was going to do another Scottish show. And he was like, we're going to call it Mr. Scotland. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't know, man. I would have given me a shout and been like, hey, we're going to do a Scottish show. Do you want to call your show Mr. Scotland? It's not something I would have been interested in, but I think that would have been the right thing to do. And basically they were like, we're going to put a show on in August, and we're going to call it Trojan Wars, and we're going to host it in a school, and it's going to be called, this is going to be the Mr. and Mrs. Scotland title. And I was like, that's a terrible idea. Yeah. Don't do that. And again, I do have the Federation's interests at heart. So I'm just telling them, I'm like, nobody in Scotland is in shape in August. Nobody. Like April, May, beginning of March, end of March, like that time, yeah, you'll get away with putting a show on in Scotland, because that's traditionally where the calendar is. Yeah. Put it on in August, nobody's going to be in shape. So, and their rationale, and it's very commendable. They were like, well, we've got a lot of disabled athletes wanting to compete, and we've got a disabled class with big prizes for disabled people, and we're putting the show on so they don't have to prep very long for the British. I was like, okay, well, in that case, your disabled class will be very busy, and no other classes will be busy. This is just my opinion, my observations. I was like, I just don't see how this is going to be a busy show, guys. And again, he was like, who are you? Blah, blah, blah.
Has this guy ran any shows before this?
Yeah, that's the thing. He runs a show in Wales, if I recall correctly, and he helped out. Sorry, I'm just plugging my charger in. And he also helped Martin at the British. So yeah. So that was us parting ways with the IBFA. And I've got this really talented guy called Robert, who's a graphic designer, and I messaged him and I was like, because we talked about doing like a Braveheart style graphic before for the show, and I was like, how quickly do you think you could put that together and write Independence Day across it? And he was like, send me pictures of everyone you want on and give me 20 minutes. I'm like, all right. So about an hour later, he's like, there you go, boom, drop that graphic, biggest independent show in the UK. Catch you later, IBFA.
Call me a fucking capitalist at heart here, but I mean, my brain is going to, like, one person's loss is another person's gain, because I would be looking and going, okay, there's other federations out there. If I was a federation, I'd be like, guys, we have a bit of an opportunity here. Mm-hmm. We have someone that's been pissed off by a federation, and we have an opportunity to say, hey, look, we've seen what's went on, and that isn't the way that we want. We don't want all federations to look that way. And wouldn't it be great if you could say, look, rather than you going out on your own, which is really hard, why don't we have a chat? Like, that would be the natural instinct if I was a federation.
Yeah, it's happened, buddy. It's happened. So we had two federations approach since we parted ways with IBFA. And I basically said, look, thank you, appreciate it, but nothing will happen before the 30th of March. I've got too much to worry about and making sure this show goes off without a hitch to add in more insanity. So. And the two federations are great federations, but some of the stuff each of them do doesn't really align with what I think bodybuilding is. So yeah, we'll see. If it benefits the competitors, it's something I'd definitely look at.
Hey, so
and at some point, I can't do this forever, man. I don't want to become, Batman. I don't want to keep doing this till I become some sort of villain. So basically, at some point, I'm going to step away.
Like a villain, mate. You do have the look. You got that fucking villain look. The whole sort of camp voice is given fucking. I mean, somebody might buy that. I'm not buying that. So you said there, just like to finish off, because I know that we're tight for time, and we want to keep some of the juice for the fucking big episode that we're going to do. We'll go deep into this. But tell me, you said there that the federations have there's a divergence between what you think is, based on your experience and knowledge and wisdom, being a bodybuilding fanboy, competing yourself, and running one of the most successful shows in Scotland, if not the most successful independent show in Scotland in recent times. they don't align exactly with what you think it should be. What would you think makes a great bodybuilding show?
Okay, so class
For instance,
selection.
maybe rephrase that. If a
Yeah.
federation was to be completely aligned with you, what would you align on?
What would we align on? So, man, basic bodybuilding. So I think some of the federations go down the kind of beauty pageant look, are more fitness federations, more physique related. I'm always going to be a big grumpy hardcore bodybuilder at heart, and that's who I am. That's what I love. I have a most muscular award, for instance, this year, sponsored by Engineered Muscle. And I just love giant juicy dudes, Gio. Love giant juicy dudes.
Take it on the sexual deal, tones out of that.
Clip that.
You just love. What do you say? You love one more time.
I'm not saying it again. I'm not saying it again.
The fucking passion it came for you, man. That came from deep within.
My loins.
Brilliant.
So yeah, basically.
Right,
there's federations that are more about beauty pageant stuff. That's not me. There's shows that are, and my missus is a WNBF pro. I'm just going to throw the heterosexuality in there real quick. My wife is a WNBF pro. So
does she know that you have camp tendencies?
Absolutely.
Yes.
She knows exactly what I am. She's 100% on board with me intimidating men with my creepiness. De-escalate situations quick. If you think someone's going to give you a good bumming, might rethink your options.
A finger through the centre of a donut's going to de-escalate situations really, really fast.
There you go. Secret weapon. So, right, this has gotten really weird. But I like it. I'm in. So, some federations are more beauty pageant. Some are very hardcore. I'm probably somewhere in the middle of that, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be about the athletes. And I think what I do is different. So like the WWE style entrance music, the showmanship, I think bodybuilding deserves something that is kind of like a small Arnold Classic, a small Olympia. Like I just feel like a lot of these people lack, I'm not saying they don't work hard, but they're not putting enough in. And I think there's opportunities there to make bodybuilding better. There's a lot of really great federations out there, but it becomes more of like a bit of a beauty pageant. So you just walk out, the judges will call, and there's no interaction with the crowd. There's no guest poser. The music is just pose down music, and they'll put on something generic, and the atmosphere is flat as a pancake. So for everyone, like if you've ever gone to one of these bigger bodybuilding shows, you'll find that once that person's, if your average spectator, if they're there to watch somebody, like once they're off the stage, they leave. They go. They are. I'm going to go ahead and say it. The Granite, generally, like 90% of the crowd is still there at the end of the show. Like they're still there. The room's still full when we shut. And that's because what we do is very different. So it's more like an event. Than just a beauty pageant.
That kind of carnival atmosphere where people are getting engaged, they're feeling enthralled, there's a show, there's some, what's coming next, there's that excitement about the buzz. Because I mean, it sounds like Vince McMahon seen this back in the early 90s when he tried to take the foray into it. So he might be capturing that vision that he never executed on, because the time and place now was that Vince at the time had the issue with this thing was so fringe. And maybe the perfect storm is that the whole showmanship of the wrestling entertainment sort of piece, sports entertainment, combined with the fact that the industry itself is spawned from this subculture to now this spilling out of physique and classic and all. It's spread its wings and it's reaching more of an audience than it would have done in the past. Maybe Vince was early to the party, and you seeing the opportunity now to put the same kind of hype and experience and buzz is what the timing is probably right now.
I'm not saying what other bodybuilding shows is wrong. It's just different from what we do, man. Like I'll go to bodybuilding shows and be bored, unless it's people I know competing, or it's it's the big juicy guys are up, and then I'm quite excited. But there's so many small facets. So if I, like our classic class, for instance, the IBFA told me I had to call it athletic, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And they're like, what do you mean you're not doing that? I was like, you can call it that. You're British if you want, but I'm not taking all the cool away from classic. I'm not calling it athletic. No chance.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm calling it classic. And just to be clear, I've got no weight caps in classic either. I was like, I want the biggest guy that can hit a vacuum with a mustache to win. Like that's pretty much classic for me. They wanted me to change masters to seniors, and I was like, no, that's silly. That again takes any of the, imagine calling a 45-year-old woman a senior. Like how offensive is that to that poor wifey? So yeah, there's like lots and lots and lots of little details. I'm just like, that's a terrible call. That's a terrible call. And I am sure I make bad decisions, but it's what I believe like bodybuilders deserve, man.
But here's the thing:
going through 16 to 20 weeks of hell, like you want to get there and somebody to be appreciative of you turning up, and that's where I'm at. I'm so appreciative. These lunatics have turned up on the day, all painted brown and ready to go out and flex.
And this is the thing: is like for that point in time, you want to make that, like, they're getting such a small window of time to do their thing. Like, do 16 weeks of preparation for fucking 90 seconds or 2 minutes.
And I say that to the crowd. I think so like you say with the showmanship thing, I think I get quite emotional when I speak. So I actually have to not hype myself up because I'm not a public speaker. But I was like, especially the COVID one. So after COVID, I was like, these people have been training with fucking, in their bedrooms for fucking 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've been curling the toaster, leg pressing the sofa, and they're here. Yeah. Like, so, that's a crowd, please, like, give them everything you have. Because I'm going to give them everything I have. And I do that, I got to be honest, I do that every show. So I go to shows with Catherine, and I'll watch, I'll be sitting in the front row, she'll be getting her hair and makeup done or something, and I'll just be watching bodybuilding, eating my food. And a guy will walk out, and let's say Maidenhead or something, I go to the Two Bros show. Someone will walk out, and he's in like a novice class. They walk out, and they're like, "Oh, this is Steve McDonald from blah blah blah," and then nobody will cheer, nobody will applaud. The judges don't even look at him. I'm like, never met a guy in my life. Come on, Steve, let's go. And then other people are like, yeah, go on, Steve. And you can see him go like, oh, and he gets really excited. He's like, oh, fuck, yes, that's why I'm here. Yeah. But if you don't do that, he's like, and you can see him shrink into himself, man. Yeah. And I'm like, nah, man, this is your time to shine, buddy. Let's see it. Yeah, so that's something I do.
Well, good, mate. I'm glad that right, so you're fucking weird, right? But keep being weird. You've got you're weird and you've got slight camp tendencies, but
and so's the bodybuilding community, man. The bodybuilders are weird, man. There's no getting around it. We're a bunch of fucking weirdos.
We see the same fucking guy in question. That's lost his shit about today's bodybuilders are better than the 90s. This same fucking streaky pish, right? Because no matter how big he is, he's still a lanky boy inside, and I remind him at every opportunity, as you have a thin, lanky soul. Doesn't matter how big you get. This is listening to streaky pish. Because I do cycling, and cycling is extremely fucking bent as a sport. You're wearing lycra, you shave your legs, and you need to put arse
I wasn't going to comment.
But it is. I mean, like, but it's not. Like, but you've got some fucking guy. The audacity. Right. I mean, I did believe there was a certain point in time when I started cycling, I was like, is this a thing or am I being groomed for something? I'm not entirely sure. Like, what do you mean you need to put cream on your bum? Well, because your bum will get sore. From fucking what? The saddles will get sore. And I'm like, is it you fucking sure that it's saddles? Is this some fucking, are you all going to like ride off into the woods and something fucking happens? As like,
you don't have to talk about it, man. You don't have to talk about it.
It's safe to say that nothing like that's happened to me yet. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't go on, but it could go on.
You managed to pedal fast enough. That's good.
Or I'm just not their favourite. It could be one of the two.
It could be that, yeah. Yeah, so fancy bumping you, maybe. Yeah.
But these guys are fucking. This guy is standing telling me 2010 bodybuilders are better than the 90s. And he's also saying that cycling is fucking gay. And I'm like, listen, mate, you stand on a stage covered in fake tan, baby oiled, and out your fucking nut in a thong, having other men cheer at you. Who are you fucking calling gay?
So it's definitely a bit weird. It's definitely a bit weird. And I'm in the front row.
And you're in the front row, your fucking heart pouring out for the biggest juices, dude, plodding him on for all his fucking hard work.
Hercules.
God bless your soul, Rob.
That's what I'm here for.
Oh man, well, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I'm glad.
It's been great.
I'm glad you've made the stand, because what I took away from today is that right, you've made a stand. You're not going to be leaned on. You're not going to be bullied. And the reason that you're not going to be doing it is not because you're an egotistical maniac full of trend. In fact, it's because you understand why you fucking did this. You understand what it's like for the athletes. You understand how it came about and why it came about and what makes the show what it is. And you had loyalty to the competitors, the businesses that remembered you at the start. You gave them their place and didn't let anybody push in, right? And you remembered who had got this thing off the ground. And then for the guys and girls out there that brave that fucking journey into bodybuilding and do that 16, 20 weeks of prep or whatever it is, they train year round and go through this fucking hardcore regime to get that 90 seconds on stage. You have the awareness and thought of what it's like for them and make it a big fucking event. And I think that's highly commendable, that not only are you not being bullied by a federation and somebody that comes in, but also to remember the people that make that show and make it special for them, whether it's the only show that they do or whether it pushes them on to bigger and better things to go and pursue this weird and wacky fucking subculture sport that we've got. And that you make it something for them, and you make it something for them and something for the crowd and something they can enjoy. And it comes as absolutely no surprise to me that it's been a massive success and will continue to be a massive success. And all it takes for things to descend into chaos is for good men to stand by, and you didn't stand by and get bullied. So hat off to you.
No chance. Not on my watch, buddy. Not on my watch.
Fair play to you, man. It's been. I'm looking. I mean, it's been great, and I can't wait to do the full shebang with you. Looking forward to you coming down.
We'll set up.
We'll put all the stuff in the show notes. So for the people that are looking to find out about the show, what's the dates for the show and whereabouts?
Sunday the 30th of March, Mother's Day. We do have selected tickets that are free if you're competing for your mum. If your mum is coming along, we do have a mum section. Because why not? Hey, it's Mother's Day. You're competing. You want your mum to come along? We'll let her come in for free, man. I'm not charging people's mum on Mother's Day. Absolutely not. 30th of March, being 11 a.m. kickoff, but you can get into the building from 9 a.m. So we'll be there from 7 in the morning. Aberdeen's Beach Ballroom, nice. right at the beachfront. Spectacular venue, listed building. I've had people compete at some of the biggest shows in the world come to that venue and just be blown away by the venue, let alone the show. Like, this is incredible.
It's a beautiful spot.
Yeah, lovely place, man. Lovely place.
Well, we'll put all your information in the show notes. It's been a pleasure having you on. I can't wait till we.
Appreciate you having me, buddy. Yeah.
We'll get you in the studio and we'll tell your story, and we'll pick up the rest on in the fucking world of wacky bodybuilding.
Fantastic. I can't wait.
It's been a pleasure, Rob. You have a great day. I'm looking forward to catching up with you soon. And above all else, just remember your heart bleeds for the big juicy men.
Always.
Take it easy, mate. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, big fella. Thank you.